What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I'm going to dive into the linebacker position for the New York Giants because, quite honestly, it's a major question mark. And, I've been hearing some buzz around the New York Giants roster of Devante Downs, who the New York Giants picked up last year from the Minnesota Vikings. He's a former 7th-round pick out of Cal. I believe he'll be 25 this year. And he looks as if he's starting to potentially carve out a role with the New York Giants at that linebacker position. Of course, going into the year, we all assumed that the two starting linebackers, if healthy, would probably be Martinez and Connelly. Connelly displayed that he was at least relevant last year when given the opportunity, came up with 2 interceptions in just 4 games, and looked as if he had a nose for the ball, and he seems to be a fan favorite of New York Giants fans. Connelly, when he was initially drafted by the Giants in the 5th round, was thought to be kind of a developmental project and a guy that could be a special teams contributor, much like a lot of the linebackers that the New York Giants have brought in this year via the draft. After all, the Giants drafted, about 1,000 linebackers between round 6 and 7, and I think some of those guys may see the field a bit in certain packages, but I think for the most part, they're viewed as future prospects and guys that maybe could contribute on special teams. Devante Downs, it was a long shot coming into camp. Like I said, a former 7th-round pick out of Cal, only has 4 career tackles over his first 2 years in the NFL, and I don't believe he saw the field with the New York Giants last year, although he suited up in 7 games. But he's certainly an interesting guy. The other option, of course, would be David Mayo, if you're not going with the rookies, if you're not going with Devante Downs. The problem with David Mayo is he's much like Martinez. He's a downhill linebacker that's known to be a run stuffer, and he's a liability in coverage. Well, the good news is, with Devante Downs, if he does, in fact, crack the starting lineup or at least make the roster, that is what he stands out in. I was able to find some very interesting stats regarding his coverage skills while at college in Cal. But he was known to be a mediocre run defender and actually excelled in coverage. But like I said, we'll pull up all the stats and we'll talk about some of the things that the coaching staff has had to say about Devante Downs so far in training camp, whether it's Kevin Sherr, the linebackers coach, or whether it's Joe Judge himself. But it seems as if he's been working very hard and is looking to make this roster, and I think he's going to. I think the only question that remains is, will he be starting? And at this point, I don't really see Ryan Connelly being a starting linebacker for the New York Giants to open the year. The guy hasn't really been able to practice consistently coming off that injury. Maybe the New York Giants are playing it, close to the vest, but it sounds like they're being cautious with Connelly coming off that injury. And with the shortened preseason, I don't expect to see Connelly out there week 1. And that opens up the door, not just for Downs, but all these rookies and potentially Mayo on this roster. But everything I'm reading leads me to believe that Devante Downs has just as good a chance as anybody else. But let's jump in to some of the quotes. The first thing I wanted to pull up for you guys was a quote from Kevin Sherr. Kevin Sherr, of course, coming from Tennessee, the New York Giants inside linebackers coach, had to say this about Devante Downs. Linebacker Devante Downs appeared in 7 games for the Giants a season ago, but did not play a single defensive snap. Now with the new coaching staff in place, it looks like the third-year pro has a chance to win his starting job next to Blake Martinez. And then Sherr went on to say this: it's a perfect example of kind of wiping the slate clean, giving the guy an opportunity with everyone on a level playing field. Inside linebackers coach Kevin Sherr said on Monday, he's done well for us. And one thing I didn't pull up here, but one thing that I've consistently read from Joe Judge is how he has said, much like what Bill Belichick pretty much used to say, I don't care where you were drafted. I want you to, I want the best 11 guys out there on both offense and defense. And if Devante Downs continues to impress at camp as he has so far, he may be one of those 11 guys. The next thing I want to pull up for you guys is what Judge had to say about him. He has good movement skills. I like the way he works, Judge said of Downs this week. He's starting to communicate a lot better with his command in the system and really understanding. That just comes with time. That's every player in our system. Everyone gets more comfortable and communicates better. But he's a guy that comes in, you can see his eyes in meetings, he's very engaged and focused on you when you're talking. All right, so right there, that's got to impress Judge. Judge has talked about he wants guys that he could teach. He wants guys that want to be there, guys that want to fight. And he's commenting there about how engaged he is, how focused he is, how hard he wants to work. Whether you're talking directly to him or somebody else, he's taking the same coaching point. He comes on the field every day. Yes, sir. No, sir. Goes to work. Does whatever you ask of him to do the best of his ability. I'm enjoying working with him a whole lot. That's really good news if you're Devante Downs, if the new head coach is really enjoying working with you. Then finally, I wanted to pull this up, and then I wanted to pull up an interesting stat I was able to pull up coming out of college. Downs has gotten some action working with Blake Martinez, among others, and he's been around the football in various drills, writes Art Stapleton. Stapleton, of course, covers the Giants. Best case is that he surprises and enters the mix in sub-packages, maybe even getting a few starts along the way. If that doesn't materialize, a strong camp performance should still get him time on special teams with a chance to continue to grow. So he may not start. He may be on special teams. Maybe he'll be in some sub-packages. I've talked about in the past that I think Jabril Peppers could get some time in that spot, along with possibly a number of others. You know, guys that you want to move around. Lorenzo Carter being one. There was an article written on him a couple of days ago of how the New York Giants view him as very versatile and they could use him around the football field. But I think Devante Downs potentially could carve out a role with the Giants. And then this was a really interesting stat I pulled up. At least I thought it was interesting. One thing the New York Giants have struggled with, we talk about it every week, is the coverage of the tight end position. And it's a huge reason, a major reason, why New York Giants fans wanted them to go out and draft Isaiah Simmons this year, to have a coverage linebacker. Well, that is exactly what Devante Downs was known for coming out of college. In coverage, Downs looks a lot better, comparing him to against the run where he struggled. The average linebacker gave up 0.88 adjusted yards per snap in coverage. Adjusted yards is simply total yards plus 20 yards for each touchdown and negative 45 yards for each interception. Take that for whatever you will. And Downs cut that in half by allowing 0.42 adjusted yards per coverage snap, which ranks second of every linebacker drafted. That was in the 2018 draft, and I was able to pull that up from a Minnesota Vikings website when they were talking about the selections that the Vikings had made. So, that's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, like I said, if you could pick the perfect type of linebacker to put next to Martinez, it would be a guy that specializes in coverage. And maybe that's exactly what Devante Downs may be. I don't really view Mayo, like I said earlier in the video, as a perfect fit. They're too similar. I like Mayo. He was very good against the run last year. I think he ranked among the top 5 linebackers in the sport. But I seriously question his coverage skills. And that's the book on Blake Martinez. He seems to, struggle in coverage. Even though he was better in 2018 and maybe the scheme will fit him better. But he's not the most athletic linebacker. Not that Downs is either. I think he ran a 4.82 at the combine. He stands at 6'2", 252 pounds, I believe, last I read. But he seems to be better in that aspect of his game, and it's what the coaches and prior people have talked about. And maybe Devante Downs could be that coverage linebacker. Maybe he comes in just in third and long, second and long situations. Maybe he won't be out there every time. But I thought it was interesting when I started reading up on Devante Downs and hearing how he's performed well at camp to do a little research, and maybe he could be a contributor for the New York Giants defense. We certainly know we could use all the help we could get. The New York Giants struggled mightily on that side of the football last year, specifically in third and long situations. I can't imagine a team gave up more third and long first downs than the New York Giants last year, and hopefully Devante Downs could contribute to the Giants if he does, in fact, make this roster. Based on some of the things I'm reading, I think he stands a very good chance. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.